Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting of July 13, 2026 to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Murray. I am the Councillor and Chair of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through the chamber doors, right over there, and obey all instructions given. And if assistance is required, please see our deputy clerk, who is this woman right here. Once you have evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Please ensure that your cell phone is on silent or turned off. Let's do that right now. Perfect. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Committee of the Whole meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all of our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of your video. Members of committee are in attendance in person and remotely, with regrets from Councillor Timmers and Councillor Renchema. We have staff in attendance in person and remotely. Item number 3 on our agenda is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from committee? Seeing none, I will move on to item number 4. Do members have any amendments to the order of the agenda? And seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, which is statutory public meetings. We have no statutory public meetings today. Item number 6 is our consent agenda, inclusive of Housing Select Committee minutes of December 9, 2025, Housing Select Committee minutes March 17, 2026, Heritage Advisory Committee minutes of May 14, 2026, Housing Select Committee minutes of June 9, 2026, and Housing Select Committee minutes of July 7, 2026. Would any members of committee like to remove an item from the consent agenda to discuss? Councillor Pachariba, please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And through you, I'd like to lift the Housing Select Committee minutes of July 7th, 2026, please.
Yes, we will do that. So after pulling that, then any other items that people would like to pull or discuss? All right, seeing none, then I do have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer. The items listed under the heading of consent agenda from Monday, July 13, 2026 be adopted as recommended. Housing Select Committee minutes of December 9, 2025. Housing Select Committee minutes of March 17, 2026. Heritage Advisory Committee minutes of May 14, 2026. And Housing Select Committee minutes of June 9, 2026. I will ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed and that carries.
Thank you, Lindsay. We will now begin the Planning and Economic Development Committee agenda. We have 2 registered delegations this evening for the Planning and Economic Development agenda. Please note that delegations have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Our first delegation for this evening is Noel Walker, Chair, Housing Select Committee, and John Armstrong, Community Land Trust of Niagara, regarding item 6.5, Housing Select Committee minutes of July 7, 2026. Prior to their delegation, I will ask that committee proceed with a majority vote to request a time extension until completion. I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet that committee extend the speaking time regarding the Housing Select Committee minutes of July 7, 2026 until completed. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed and that carries.
Great. I'd like to welcome Noel to the podium. Is John with you as well? Yes. All right, John, if you wouldn't mind, are you presenting together?
He's going first.
All right. But the same delegation, right? Yes. So then if you can come up, that would be excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Easton, members of council, town staff, and members of the community. Thank you for this opportunity to speak this evening on behalf of the Housing Select Committee. Over the last 3.5 years, the Housing Select Committee has examined best practices from across Ontario for increasing the supply of attainable and affordable housing while supporting a greater diversity of housing types, densities, and tenures here in Lincoln. We are encouraged to see those conversations reflected in town policies, including the affordable housing objectives incorporated into the Shape Lincoln draft official plan approved last week. Throughout our work, the committee has consistently emphasized that affordable housing is about much more than social services. It is an economic development issue. It's a workplace issue. It's a seniors issue. It is a youth retention issue, and ultimately, it is a community well-being issue. When local businesses cannot recruit or retain employees because housing is unaffordable, the entire community will feel the impact. When young people and young families leave Lincoln because they can't afford to live here, they don't simply move elsewhere, they build their lives elsewhere. They work and shop, volunteer, and raise their families in neighboring communities instead of investing those gifts and resources here in Lincoln. Investing in affordable housing is an investment in Lincoln's long-term resilience and prosperity. We are grateful that the official plan review has strengthened the town's commitment to housing affordability through clearer policy direction, support for accessory dwelling units, and encouragement of a broader mix of housing options. These are important foundations, and the next step is turning these policies into projects. As we've mentioned before, the redevelopment of the former BDSS property is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to shape the future of our community. Decisions made about this land will influence Lincoln for decades. If affordable housing is not intentionally included in the vision for this property at the outset, that opportunity may never come again. This evening, we respectfully ask Council to make their intentions more clear. Our community needs to hear that a portion of the BDSS redevelopment lands will be designated for affordable housing, delivered in partnership with experienced nonprofit housing organizations and other funding partners. Such a commitment would not determine the final design, of course, or the number of units. Rather, it would establish a clear principle that this publicly specific and significant site should serve the entire community, including seniors, including young people, including essential workers and others who are increasingly struggling to find a home that they can afford here in Lincoln. Over the past several years, the Housing Select Committee has built relationships with organizations that have successfully delivered affordable housing across Niagara. We believe Lincoln does not have to start from scratch. We can learn from proven models and from experienced partners. At our most recent committee meeting, we had the privilege of hearing from John Armstrong of the Community Land Trust of Niagara, a nonprofit organization that acquires and stewards land for the long-term public good, ensuring that affordable housing is created today and remains affordable for future generations. John shared the story of the Community Land Trust's leadership in the recently announced $31 million affordable housing project on Crowther Avenue in Welland. Through partnerships with the City of Welland, with second-story community homes and multiple funding partners, that project demonstrates how municipalities can leverage public land to create permanently affordable homes while preserving community benefits for generations. We're not asking Council to replicate Welland's project, of course. We're asking Council to signal that Lincoln is ready to explore similar partnerships that would ensure affordable housing has a place in the future here on the former BDSS property. As this term of Council draws to a close, you have an opportunity to leave a lasting legacy. Years from now, residents may not remember every motion passed on every budget approved, but they will remember whether this council chose to seize a rare opportunity and help make Lincoln a community where people of all incomes can continue to live and work and thrive. It's now my pleasure to introduce John Armstrong, who will share how the Community Land Trust model can help make this vision a reality. John?
Thanks, Noel. See if I can get this thing working. I hope that's the right presentation. Anyway, we'll find out shortly. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity. Noel, I appreciate the opportunity to present to council today. Before we got here, Councillor Brunei asked me if it was why I haven't been to council before to talk about the Community Land Trust of Niagara. Just so you know, we've been in existence for about 3 years, and we were for the first year and a half we were the Garden City Community Land Trust with a focus primarily on St. Catharines. Then when we were doing our community consultation in terms of how to structure the organization, it was very clear that that we were encouraged to create the land trust for all of Niagara. So we adopted and changed the mandate of the organization to be the Community Land Trust of Niagara. So we've since that time we've been working on our first project in Welland, which I'm here to tell you about, and I'm here to tell you about sort of how the land trust works and what it is. So what is a community land trust? It's basically a nonprofit corporation. It was created to hold and acquire land and property in perpetuity and maintain affordable housing. There are about 47 land trusts currently in across the country. They work with governments, community groups, developers, financial institutions to build and develop that affordable housing. And not only is the goal to work on affordable housing, but it is that in perpetuity piece. It's what we are, and I'll see that in a slide in a couple of minutes. We're really a non-market housing developer. So the goal is to both build and to acquire, because rent evictions is also one of the other key things that's important in terms of maintaining affordability, making sure that there's land and buildings and housing in your community that are affordable. So not only do we build, but we also work on acquiring. And it's interesting to note that this is the most recent survey that we've got. I think it's from 2023, with about 47 community land trusts across Canada. Land trusts in Canada are really something that are emerging and have been emerging over the last 4 or 5 years. Certainly more prevalent in the United States and the UK than they are in Canada. But I can tell you, when I first started working, and as I've been working with the Community Land Trust, it's very reminiscent. I don't know if any of you recall when community foundations were being established in Canada. They were moving across the country as really something that was a new important piece of social and community infrastructure that were getting established. I remember, because I was working with Niagara. I was working with Niagara Credit Union at the time, who came in as one of the founding partners of the Niagara Community Foundation. And I remember that sense of sweeping across the country and establishing this new important piece of community infrastructure. And now I think the Community Foundation has got its 25th year anniversary is this year, and they now have over $100 million in assets. And so we really believe that the Community Land Trust of Niagara can really mirror and replicate that for affordable housing, what the Community Foundation has done for endowments. So as I said, just a little bit, there are land trusts all over Canada. They're emerging and continuing to grow and expand, and all of them are at a number of different levels. Some have properties, some don't have properties, some have a fair number of properties. We in Niagara are working on our first property, which I'll tell you about in just a couple of minutes. So why now? I don't have to tell you why now. The housing affordability crisis is widely known. Affordable housing, basically, like it can't be built without financial supports of government. The numbers just actually don't make sense. They don't work. So that's why you've got the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation that was very active over the last few years. Now it's Build Canada Homes that's very active. Region has been active. A lot of municipalities have been active. And just so you're aware, when we were doing our research for Niagara, that when we moved from the Garden City Community Land Trust to the Community Land Trust of Niagara, one of the other things that was pointed out to us was Niagara Regional Housing, for example. They have a lot of deeply attainable or deeply affordable housing with supports, but they have a lot of people whose status has grown and their economic status has grown, and they really don't need to be in those buildings anymore. But they said to us, there's no place for those people to go. So they said, if you're going to be doing building, don't get into the deeply affordable space. Get into the affordable space, that level that's just below the market rate, the kind of 80% of market rent. So, and that's and to Noel's point, that's the kind of space where our parents and our children may find themselves in places to live as they want to stay in town and in Lincoln. As having been a resident of Beamsville for 27 years is a good reason why people are going to want to stay. So making sure that we have the housing that's available for those people is something that I think it's really important. I don't have to tell you about rents. Now they've been going down a little bit over the last year, but you see that there was a significant jump, 2022, 23, and 24, as we all know, with the price of everything. That there was a very significant jump, which is really exacerbated the issue. Just to give you a quick look, these are from the Niagara Regional Housing's wait list. I always like to look at these. Actually, I don't like to look at these, but when I look at those, for example, if you look at Lincoln and Beamsville, there's a 4-year wait for a 2-bedroom. There's an 8-year wait for a 3-bedroom. What does that mean? That means nobody at that bottom of that list is going to get a place to live. Like, they're just not. Like, that's an imaginary number. Somebody says, oh, I'm on the wait list for 8 years. I'm not going to get a place. It's just a number that looks like it's something, but it's not. It's not real. So who are we? As I said, the Community Land Trust of Niagara is a social purpose real estate developer of non-market housing. So if we do our jobs, if we do our jobs properly, as a non-market developer, we will be acquiring land, building housing, keeping it as part of the housing stock of the land trust, and then re-leveraging that over the course of time, so you can see that kind of sustainability that will grow and persist over time as we acquire more and more properties. The land trust itself doesn't want to actually operate any of the buildings. We'll work with housing providers like the YWCA, for example, or Bethlehem Housing, which is now Second Story, to be the operators of those buildings. The land trust job is to build and acquire, and then move on, build and acquire, move on, and leverage, and leverage those properties as we grow. And so you can see when I talk about the vision being that we can be to affordable housing, what the Community Foundation is to endowments, you can see that that kind of growth and that kind of sustainability that we can actually create. The vision is to increase the supply of accessible, affordable, and sustainable housing. And as I said, the acquire and holding lands for people with low and limited means. Just to give you a quick look at the board, yeah, this is an older list. Sorry that the only person who's not on the board there is Margaret Jarrell anymore. She was one of the founders. However, we've got a very strong board currently. Counselor from St. Catharines, Caleb Ratzlaff. Laurie Beaches is the Executive Director of Second Story Community Homes and Services, formerly Bethlehem Housing. Rob DePetris is a tax accountant. We have a senior planner in Nick Godfrey, and Sarah's from the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centres. Ronald Hong works for Infrastructure Ontario. Tom Richardson is the Niagara's quintessential municipal planning legal counsel, and Justin Golding is a relatively new transplant into there's a typo, relatively new transplant into Niagara, and he's a real estate developer. I've talked about what the strategic goals: build, protect, and support. Again, build more housing, protect the existing housing stock, and work with existing housing providers. So how do we acquire land and properties? We receive donations. We receive gifts of land. We work with government agencies for Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Build Canada Homes, regional municipal governments. We're also working on what we're calling an equity collaborative model. There are millions, literally millions and millions of dollars of unleveraged assets in the not-for-profit sector, excluding the faith community. When you add in the faith community, it's even there's millions more. So, but that's unleveraged. So we're working with community partners on how we can leverage those assets and have that equity then put into housing. Community bonds and social impact investors are also a way that we work, as well as, of course, rents and the asset accumulation, as I just described earlier. So let me tell you about our first project. It's on Crowther Avenue in Welland. We're calling it a community housing continuum project. Our unit is 43 or 44 units. I think it's 43 actually. There's a sister property or a sister building that's adjacent to us. There's an open road allowance between them. That is a second story or Bethlehem housing project. It's 40 units. Theirs is more deeply affordable with supports. That's why they have fewer units than us, because they've got community rooms and services down on the main floor. And ours is that affordable, attainable rate that we were talking about. Just to give you a quick peek at all of those are just the partners in words. It looks better like this. The city of Welland has gifted the land trust the land for $3. They've leased the land to Second Story for $1. They were traditionally more leasing land than they were gifting land. They've gifted land because they understood and recognized the vision that we have for the Community Land Trust of building up that asset in order to create sustainability. But in other affordable housing projects, they've leased the land because they want to make sure that the land actually, or the property actually, stays affordable. So that gives them a little bit more of that control. The City of Welland's also come in with a great deal of subsidies as well, a number of different subsidies. I think for the land trust, it's about $120,000 worth of additional subsidies. We've been working with Build Canada Homes and Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. We've been working with Meridian Credit Union. And then the other big one is the Niagara Community Foundation has also come in with a very significant impact investment, for us as well. And our constructor is Rankin Construction, who is, they're obviously just a terrific partner who's been working with us and getting the project going and getting it ready. So how can you help? Well, obviously we're always looking for surplus land, similar to the City of Welland. We're interested in not just buildings that will be leased, but that will be owned, and so and I think this is the wrong slide here. Yeah, that's the wrong slide. So we're interested in land. We're interested in working with you. I know you have a tremendous piece of property. You have a really unique opportunity. It's really exciting, the opportunity that you've got on the BDSS lands. So incorporating affordable housing at that kind of level, you don't have to do the deeply affordable with the supports. I mean, I get that, but that next level down. So that way we can create. You don't have to have just a homogeneous community. You can have a community that represents a number of different stratas in the economic sphere without that actually having an impact on the community. But that kind of balance and that kind of variety, I think, in my humble opinion, creates a richer, more dynamic community. And I remember I was doing a strategic plan for a housing organization actually, and I went in with that one slide that had the housing numbers that talks about the wait list and how long that wait list is and all that kind of stuff. And I remember I put it on there and I did one of those. Okay, what kind of an impact do you want to have? And this group said, "Wow, those numbers are so big, we can't possibly have an impact." And I was like, "Oh, crap, this is not going the way I wanted it to go. I wanted them to stand up and say, oh, well, let's make a big impact, but they didn't. The executive director, though, then said, yeah, but to the individual homeowners and families who actually got those units, it was like it's life-changing, it's generational changing, it's multi-generational changing, those kinds of opportunities. So it wasn't just it wasn't just solving the big problems, but you can solve all kinds of small problems. And I actually thought, thank God, yay, she switched this thing. But that's the kind of opportunity that you've got. You've got not just contributing to the town of Lincoln or the town of Beamsville. You're contributing to those individual families who you're creating opportunities. And if they're families who actually also live here in Lincoln, then you're allowing that multi-generational aspect of the community to stay relevant, and actually creating communities when you get lots of old timers in communities as well as young people. So as well as having your grandkids to be able to play with. So with that, I think that's probably where I'm at. Yeah, well, we've done that. Yeah. With that, I'll wrap it up. Take any questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you very much to both of you. I'll open the floor now. Are there any questions from committee? Councillor Miklik, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, through you, Chair. Appreciate the presentations that you both made and the effort that you're making for the past number of years. Question I have is with regards to this, when the structure gets built, whatever it may be, however it may look, it turns into essentially from a condo of some sorts. And if that's the case, like how does it continue to remain affordable, especially given these times with such fluctuating costs, whether it's insurance, property taxes, you name it. It's getting difficult for any resident to continue living in an affordable community. And I look at like some of these buildings that are built, and what's to say in 5 years or 8 years something structural goes wrong where $1 million is needed to repair that building? How would that get funded?
Sure. So when we're making application, and just to be clear, we're making application to Build Canada Homes for the development in Welland, right? So we were working with we were working with Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation forms, and when Build Canada Homes hadn't quite been formed yet. So and it turns out that their forms and their approach is very, very different than Canada Mortgage and Housing. Build Canada Homes is a very, very different approach. So we are making application to them. So we're hoping to get this built. So I can't say that it is getting built for sure at this point. Although we've got some great partners and we've got some very determined people. But to your specific question, when we're working on these forms, for example, we have to make sure that we have the proper contingencies, that we put aside the proper amount of money for maintenance and for ongoing for over the course of the long term. So and it won't be a condo. Ours will be owned by the land trust, and there'll be rentals.
Okay, thank you. So more or less maintained and owned.
Yes.
Because to the question I have, I'm not sure what sort of budget there is within your organization, and when you're building a building that could cost $10-20 million, 5-10 years from now there could be like an oopsie that wasn't foreseen, and ultimately the property owner has to pick up the bill. So that's where it can get pretty significant with respect to keeping it affordable or ensuring.
Absolutely, and that's why we have to be very careful in the projects that we approve. If the numbers don't work over the long term, because you're right, it's all about the long term. Right? I mean, you can build something and cut the ribbon and that looks great, but if the land trust owns that building and 5 years from now or 10 years from now, there's a significant failure in something with the building, yeah, that's a big problem. So our job is to not cut corners. Because we're going to be owning it over the long term, our job is to make sure that we can keep those maintenance costs and we can keep those costs down to a minimum with the right kind of cushion to make sure that we can deal with any unforeseen circumstances. But it's very much focused. We have to be focused on the long term, because if we get one failure. And if that could upend the land trust, particularly as we're getting going. So,
Exactly.
so that's
That's
yeah.
a concern I would have.
Absolutely. Our goal is to pay a lot of attention to that, because we can't get it wrong.
So another question. So with all of this, all this budgeting, we always talk about what it costs to find a place to rent, and it varies throughout the region depending on the definition of affordable or deeply affordable. What does it cost to build a unit? Like to build a 1 or 2 bedroom condominium of some sort, or some sort of housing? What do you budget for, roughly speaking? Is it
We're about
300,000?
yeah, we're about
500?
we're about 300 and change a door. So that's about where we are, about 300,000 and maybe 325. Maybe we've been working on trying to get that number down right now. So we're about 325,000 a door.
And that's like a unit or
A unit,
bedroom?
per unit,
Whether
sorry.
it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's the other, what these structures cost. And I was, I looked at your board of directors, and they're all heavy hitters. They're all reputable individuals, and they're all, the developers, the builders, like you mentioned names there. They're all reputable. So appreciate you coming and sharing your vision and your efforts.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to go online to Councillor Russell. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Through you to the presenter, just a few questions. On slide, I believe it was 16 of your presentation, you mentioned for Equity Collaborative that you will be pooling and converting unleveraged assets from NFPs and faith groups for equity to build the properties. I wonder if you can give some more insight into what that actually means.
Sure. For example, we are working with a charity right now who has multiple buildings, unleveraged, in other words, debt-free. We've been working with Meridian Credit Union, who has expressed interest in converting some of that equity, or some of that the equity from those buildings into cash, which can then be transferred over to the land trust. So we're just working on how the legal deal works for that right now. But that's what the equity pooling model is.
Okay, so not necessarily, follow up through Madam Chair. So not necessarily a sale of those properties to generate equity, but actually leveraging and taking out loans against them.
Correct.
Okay. Second question I had, you mentioned that there was 120,000 in subsidies from Welland for the I think it's Crowthers Avenue project. Could you give some insight into what those subsidies included?
I should
High
have,
level?
I should have been able to. I should have been able to, and I apologize for not having that next level of detail for you. I'd have to get that for you. I can get that for you and send it to you, and I apologize.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's good. And last question to you, Madam Chair. If we lease the land to the trust instead of donate the land to the trust, does the model still work?
Not really. Because our job is to build that asset base. I mean, you don't really need to work with a land trust. You can just work directly with a not-for-profit housing provider, and it could be contracted. I mean, you could contract it yourself. They could work with a housing provider like a YWCA or a Second Story to work on the building of that, and then they would be the ones who'd be operating it. So it really works for the land trust to build that asset base. That's what our real mandate is over the course of time as well. I mean, from the standpoint of establishing that level of expertise for building, there will be value in that. But you've got there's some good housing providers right now that you could probably partner with. We'd welcome the opportunity to partner with you, but there's not as much in it for the land trust per se. Our job is to accumulate those assets to create the sustainability model.
Okay, just one more quick little follow-up, Madam Chair, if I could. Okay. Is there anything in your current constitution that would stop you from leveraging those assets in the future as collateral for other projects?
No. No, there isn't.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reimer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Thank you, Noel and John, for your presentation. I do agree, Noel, with your opening comments that BDSS is our opportunity to make a generational or transformational project in this community. I think those are good words you used. I'm looking to ask yourself or John. This goes back to late March when we looked at that film from Dr. Brian Doucette. I'm not sure if John's familiar with that or not. I was really. Oh, very cool. Okay. Well, we were able to look at it or view it in late March at the new West Niagara School. Just the Whistler example or the Whistler model was one that really intrigued me. I'm just looking to see, is this sort of, and I know if John didn't see it, I don't know if you can speak to it, Noel, does this kind of slide in with that, in that same lens? I mean, that was modeled around finding workers or finding people who were employed by the ski lodges and the tourism industry there, enabling them to stay in the community. And I didn't know if this overlapped. I had some more questions that I wanted to find out about that model, but does this sort of relate to that? It seems similar, so I'm just looking for your comments on that. Through you, Chair.
Yes, through you, Chair. I'm not sure it's quite the same. I mean, it has some shared benefit that also kind of works the same way. Just in meeting John just last week with the Housing Select Committee, what we recognized in the Community Land Trust is the partnership angle. What we've been looking for over these last 3 years, our conversations have been centered around finding a developer or finding someone to manage a rental property or finding those single pieces. And then when we meet John and when we hear about the land trust, what we hear is somebody that's already talking to all these dance partners, so to speak. They already know the networks that we're looking to draw from, and that's part of what I thought was so intriguing about this possibility. And so I'm not sure that it's quite the same as that, but what I liked about it was it's something that gets a bunch of partners together and starting to share that vision so that we might be able to see something happen over the next few years.
Okay. Well, thanks. Continuing conversation, but thanks very much for that. Thank you, John. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miklik, please go. Sorry, can I put Councillor Patrieve in first? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, John and Noel, for coming tonight. And I want to thank the CAO and the clerk for making this happen. I was so enthused after John's presentation at our Housing Select Committee on Thursday night. I said, you got to come and everyone has to hear this. So, John, when you said about the leveraging of the assets, Councillor Russell asked that question. So is it almost like a reverse mortgage on an owned property, like an apartment building, right? So they're going to use that as collateral, much like a homeowner would get equity out of their home using a reverse mortgage.
Yeah. The question that we're currently dealing with right now. We're working on figuring out how the legals work. And one of the questions we have to deal with is are we going to do it on a project by project basis? Yeah. So that way we create a new holdco of the equity partners then participate in that holdco. Is it done sort of collectively into the land trust? So we're just working on those specific details right now and on how that structure works. But we know of both not-for-profits that are interested and willing to play, and then we also know that the financial institutions have expressed some interest in playing with us as well.
Okay. And second question, if I may, Madam Chair. Okay, I've lost that question, but I'm going to go to the other one. So the video that Councillor Weimer referred to, that the Affordable Housing Lincoln Group put on, I wasn't able to view it that night because I was out of town on business, but I did get a chance to watch it and took tons of notes. And one of them was about the Plank Road project that they worked with in Waterloo with the YW. And it was a collaboration where, again, the land was leased. But your group would be involved in some way, shape, or form in getting that off the ground?
Yeah, we can
But- yeah.
we certainly could be involved. The question related to what's in it for the land trust, there isn't as much in it to for the land trust as it relates to the building of the asset. But certainly, I mean, if that next level of expertise or that next level of community support is required to help bring partners together and to help make the project happen, yeah, that's the kind of thing that we could help with.
Okay, and then I'm thinking back through it as a follow-up, and maybe the CEO could chime in on this too. A number of years ago, we visited a recreational property in Ottawa, and it was a dome. So they were looking for land, and the idea was the town donated the land. No, maybe I'm kind of mixing my metaphors here. But anyway, that after a certain amount of time, it reverted back to the town's ownership. And then so the company owned and operated it. So I'm thinking in this case, would something, and I'm outside the box thinking, but something like where, a lease for a few years, you get up and going, and then it reverts to the land trust to help build the equity. Because I go back to during the time of COVID, the mayor had me sit in on a Greenbelt presentation, and you touched on it. They said by 2051 there'll be 150,000 single-family homes in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So this allows young families or recent college university graduates, and then the elderly who want to downsize to stay in the community, right, and keep in touch. And one of the things that I learned, from my time on community care or talking to Elizabeth Zimmerman, you need those social interactions and contacts, whether it's babysitting or grocery store or you name it. And something like this would provide that, would it not?
Yeah, there's no question. There's no question about that. I mean, the connection and the sense of community that the people who would be living there get into the broader community is something that would benefit them extraordinarily, and obviously it would benefit the rest of the community and all the people, all of the people who are attached to who have relationships with anybody in those buildings.
Okay.
No question.
Last one, if I may.
I believe you already had three.
What is I? Okay.
There's
then
no one else in the queue.
Oh.
I'll let it go.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Michalak. So last question, John and Noel. So it's that 80% target. So we're not looking at the deeply affordable because we recognize that we don't have the wraparound services like a city has.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that people that have the 80% of the rent and the other part gets them over the threshold.
Correct. That would be correct. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me.
You're welcome, Councillor. I see no other people in the queue, so thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming in this evening.
Thanks very much.
The clerk has advised that there's been a delegation request received after the deadline. So in accordance with our procedural bylaw, I will seek an affirmative 2/3 vote to waive the rules to permit the unregistered delegation. I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet. That committee waive the rules to permit the following unregistered delegation. Irene Romagnoli, sorry, said it wrong. My apologies. I will now ask our deputy clerk to open the vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open.
Sorry, what? Is it up? Sorry, I don't know what you're asking.
You sure thing.
Oh, I did. I'm in, but
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I have already voted.
So did I. Glitch.
If you could just give me a moment, we're having technical
Yep.
difficulties here. The vote is closed and that carries.
Thank you. Our next delegation this evening is Irene Romanoli, speaking to item 6.5, Housing Select Committee Minutes of July 7, 2026. Ms. Romanoli, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Through you, Chair, to all councillors and staff, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Affordable Housing Lincoln recognizes and appreciates the significant provisions regarding affordable housing that are now embedded in the Town of Lincoln's official plan. As this plan is used in the development of community building, we recognize that these provisions are crucial in fulfilling the town's growth and settlement objectives. We also appreciate the Housing Select Committee and their supporting staff for the work they have done. At their July 7th meeting, as you know, we had the opportunity to see a presentation by the Community Land Trust of Niagara, the same one that John just took you through. From that enlightening presentation, we quite clearly see the opportunity that the Community Land Trust of Niagara offers to Lincoln. Their Build Affordable Housing projects fulfill the 4 pillars that are paramount in creating affordable housing, as stated by the Housing Select Committee Chair, Noel Walker: funding, land, development, and management. Noel also refers to them as the 4 dance partners. Affordable housing in Lincoln must come from non-traditional development. It must be non-market housing, designed, built, and managed through a program that focuses on maintaining affordability in perpetuity. That cannot come from programs, developers, and property management companies that are focused on creating a profit. It is obvious from the work done on the official plan that Lincoln Town Council sees the importance of affordable, attainable, non-market housing. Where the difficulty in moving forward comes from is the long list of things that are unknown, the questions that need to be answered, and the people that do all of the work. Some of the issues facing any decision regarding the use of the BDSS land comes from the unknown, and it can turn the heartfelt desire to build into a negative vote when the time comes to act. We have seen that town councillors will support affordable housing if the money comes from elsewhere. Others will support it if the location is nowhere near their constituents. Others say they don't understand the issue well enough to make a decision. And others will disagree with the wording of a motion, preferring to defer the decision to a future, no date mentioned meeting. All of these are ways of saying no without saying no. To think that affordable housing could come at no cost requires a vivid imagination. Affordable housing that's not near any constituent means not in Lincoln. 3 terms of the Housing Select Committee culminates in the committee working to have councillors understand that affordable housing is the most important work that needs to be done in regards to housing in Lincoln. What the Community Land Trust of Niagara offers is a program that needs land. And when they have the land, they take on the hard work of creating the housing that this community desperately needs. We cannot continue to put this off. There are people in our community that cannot wait even 1 more year for affordable housing to be built in Lincoln. Affordable housing is needed for seniors, single parents, and their children. We are losing our youth to other communities, and the damage that does to a community is irreversible. Affordable Housing Lincoln supports Community Land Trust of Niagara in the development of affordable housing on the BDSS lands. And to do that, there needs to be action. We need to see a vote at the next council meeting on July 27th as a public declaration from each current councillor regarding their desire to see affordable housing built in Lincoln sooner rather than later. And we must see action starting on all the necessary steps as soon as council sits again after the election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions of this delegation from committee? And seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Romagnoli. There being no further delegations, I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, that committee receive and file for information the following delegations: Noel Walker, Housing Select Committee; John Armstrong, Community Land Trust of Niagara; and Irene Romagnoli. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed, and that carries.
Thank you. We will now consider item 6.5, Housing Select Committee Minutes of July 7, 2026. That was lifted from the consent agenda. Are there any questions from committee? Councillor Pachariba, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to advise my colleagues that at the next council meeting on July 27th, I plan on introducing a motion. I will be sure to send it through the clerk to you all in the coming days. I didn't want to do it this evening because our vice chair and fellow councillor on the Affordable Housing Committee, Councillor Timmers, is on a well-deserved vacation. She's coming back from an Alaskan holiday. You may ask why following tonight. I think it's clear. But further to that, I'd like to introduce a motion because I believe it reflects both our responsibility as a municipality and the opportunity set before us. One of the consistent messages we've heard from our residents is the need for more affordable and attainable housing in our community. Whether it's young families trying to purchase their first home, seniors looking to downsize, or local workers who simply want to live in the community they serve, housing affordability continues to be one of the Lincoln's most significant challenges. The former Beamsville District Secondary School precinct presents a unique opportunity, one that is not something we see often. While this property has the potential to support recreation, community services, and other public uses, I believe it should also provide us the opportunity to explore a meaningful, affordable housing component. The motion, still in draft, but almost done, is written in a way that does not commit council to a specific design, location, size, or financial investment. Rather, it signals that council supports reserving and evaluating a portion of the precinct for a potential nonprofit affordable housing project, subject to further analysis, community engagement, funding opportunities, and a future council approval. Ultimately, this is about keeping options open, demonstrating leadership, and ensuring that affordable housing remains part of the conversation as we shape the long-term vision for this important community asset. I hope members of council will support the motion when it is brought forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions from committee? And seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariba that the Housing Select Committee Minutes of July 7, 2026 be adopted as recommended. I will ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed, and that carries.
Thank you. Our next delegation is from representatives of the Destination Marketing Organization regarding item 7.2.1, 2025 Destination Marketing Organization DMO Update, Report EDC-08-26. We have Norm Beale, Chair, Craig Swanson, Chair of Marketing, and Mackenzie Keast, Executive Director of the DMO, in attendance to provide a presentation. Before the delegation, the Director of Economic Development and Communications will provide comments. Director Deanne, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just personally wanted to welcome Chair Beale, Craig Swanson, and of course the new Executive Director of the DMO, Mackenzie Keast, to the podium this evening. They're here to provide a presentation and update for the DMO activities and the fact that we've officially launched this new organization this year. I know we do have some board members watching from home this evening as well, so I just want to welcome them and turn it over to Norm with a presentation and look forward to some comments and questions later on for the report. Thank you, Chair.
Just one moment, Norm, before you get started. Before the presentation, I will ask that committee proceed with a majority vote to request a time extension until completion. I have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik that committee extend the speaking time regarding the 2025 Destination Marketing Organization update until completed. Our Deputy Clerk has now opened that vote.
The vote is closed, and that carries.
All right, that means you've got time.
Thank you, Director Deanne. Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Very pleased to be here today. I'm going to try and figure out, do we know how to get our slide presentation up? There we go. Here we go. Anyways, this is a very, very exciting time. I got to admit, this probably goes back close to almost a decade, certainly 5 years. I think this is probably the second or third time I presented on this issue. And here we are today. We have this brand new DMO up and running with a full board of directors, and a lot of other things going on. So this is a really, really exciting time. It's a tremendous opportunity for economic development and economic growth here in both the town of Lincoln and in the city of St. Catharines. And it's really a partnership that I think is being brilliantly constructed in a way where there's really equal representation between both the town of Lincoln and the city of St. Catharines on one of the most important economic drivers between both of our communities. So a lot has been done in a very, very short period of time. We really had our elections and our first meetings back in January of this year. And in that time, we've actually had already 6 board meetings. And we have selected a full committee structure and lots of other great things are going on that we're going to share with you tonight. Tonight, another exciting thing that has happened for us is that over the course of the last several months, we've gone on a major executive search to hire an executive director, and I'm here to introduce Mackenzie Keast, who has just started actually last Monday. Mackenzie, do you want to say a couple of words of welcome?
Sure. Thank you, Norm. Yeah, thank you, Norm. I'm not going to take up too much time. Like Norm said, I just started last Monday. So I don't want to take credit for all the amazing work that this board has accomplished today, because it is a lot. But I have had the pleasure of Mayor Easton meeting you briefly and some of the councillors here. But look forward to meeting you all through the course of this work, and really, really thrilled to be a part of this amazing organization, the amazing opportunity that it has to really help support tourism in this community, and the amazing impact that it can have on economic development for this community. So thank you so much for having us.
For those of you that haven't seen Mackenzie's bio, he's got a very impressive sheet behind him and has done a lot of great work in many other areas that are very similar to what we're on. And I can tell you in terms of government grants, applications, funding models that will work in order to help grow this organization, Mackenzie's an expert. He's enthusiastic, and I'm really, really looking forward to him. The entire board's really looking forward to working with Mackenzie going forward. I'm just going to give you a few details on what we've done to date. It is really a remarkable accomplishment as to where we've gotten so far. We've already built our committee structure, our basic committee structure on governance, finance, and marketing. And on the marketing side, we've done a lot of work, which Craig Swanson, our chair of our marketing committee, is going to speak to here in a few moments. I also want to talk to you. We've done a lot of work on governance. We've built a service level agreement. We've updated our articles of incorporation, revised our bylaws. We've created a bank account, which has actually got some money in, which is really nice. We've already had our first annual meeting, full board, and of course, as I just mentioned, we've hired our executive director. That's a lot to accomplish in effectively about 6 months, and you can really. I got to tell you, you can thank, I think, a lot of volunteers, but the staff at the town of Lincoln and the city of St. Catharines have been truly remarkable. And I want to go back, if you don't mind, just quickly, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, as this all became the brainchild of really town of Lincoln staff initially. Director Deanne and a number of other staff really were behind this from the very beginning. They've done an absolutely outstanding and brilliant job. They really see the vision in the future of tourism in West Niagara. We have, as you know, how I feel about the Niagara Benchlands branding exercise that we've gone through. Again, some brilliant work done by the Town of Lincoln team, really giving us a phenomenal chance to leverage up the potential for economic development around the tourism side of the business. And some people ask me, well, geez, what do the residents of the town of Lincoln get out of, or the city of St. Catharines get out of tourism? That makes no sense. And I can tell you a neighboring community very close to my winery out in West Niagara, West Lincoln, They've asked that question over and over and over again, like, how can tourism be economic development? Well, let me tell you, I think the easiest way to figure that one out is that take a look at your tax base. Take a look. I'm also the chair of the Ontario Craft Wineries. I think in the town of Lincoln, we have over 50 members of Ontario Craft Wineries. They all pay commercial, they all pay industrial taxes, and it's a big chunk of your tax base. So that's where they make the contribution to the bottom line here for Lincoln residents. And it's critically important that those businesses grow and prosper and pay more taxes. So the great news about this model as well is it's really funded through the municipal accommodations tax. Thank you very much. So it's really it's not being funded by your average taxpayer. So this is a great opportunity for the town of Lincoln, for the city of St. Catharines. We're in our infancy. We've already done a tremendous amount of work, but I got to tell you, I'm really, really excited about the future of the work that we can do through this DMO. Just going to talk a little bit more about some of the strategic initiatives we've already launched. We've already built a marketing communications plan. We've already completed an economic impact study, and we are still working on our destination marketing management plan, and a lot of work to be done around strategic planning and featuring the vision of this organization. Exciting times ahead. We're well on our way, and really just out of the gates, we are aggressively pursuing a marketing plan that Craig Swanson, our marketing committee chair, is going to speak to now.
Hello, everybody. As Norm mentioned, my name is Craig Swanson. By day, I'm with Artero Wines Canada as the senior manager of our Eastern Hospitality Division, which consists of 5 wineries based here in Southern Ontario, 2 of which are in this lovely place called Lincoln, which is underscored with Q Vineyards and Domaine Le Clos Jourdain. And I just wanted to take a moment to commend this council. We were at an event recently, and some of the words used to describe was open arms and very fun and engaging to work with to drive development. And so I just want to commend and thank all of you for your efforts and leadership in that space as a business stakeholder before I get into the meat of today. So first of all, thank you. And then that's a parlay into this. As a leadership stance in what we've been doing with this DMO, as Norm mentioned, we've been busy. Doing all of this just as a board without an executive director to fuel it has been a lot on the plate. I would say probably more than I signed up for. But at the same time, I've enjoyed it a lot, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what's been done before this board was formed, and then where we're going is kind of how this is broken out. If I may. So I'm going to talk about our marketing and assets. This is a quick visual to kind of show you some of the physical pieces that actually were created before this board was created. If you were at Grape and Wine last year, you saw these pieces with long lineups, and these are physical assets that allow us to generate interest and people to come and visit. But then you're talking to guests maybe from here or not from here. The other piece here is you're also getting first-party data, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. But there's actually a subscriber list, an email list of over 20,000 emails that we already have. So you're going to see a consistent trend here of, we're starting a bit ahead of the ball game because of all the work done by the staff and all the support. And I underscore Norm's comments about the tremendous thought leadership there. So this is some of the visible components. The next 2 slides are on some of the advertorials and digital elements that have been in market. And the one piece I want to call out here for the second time is these are advertorials and editorials that have been taken out. What we were able to do as a new marketing committee is talk to the staff of Lincoln and St. Catharines and go, okay, we've been doing this for a few months now. What worked and what didn't work? So we were able to start ahead of the ball game, which I think any board would love to have that. So over the last 6 months, really 2 months since we've had our materials in market, we've been able to be really focused from the start rather than going, let's start with everyone's best practices and see what works. We had a really, starting ahead of the line. I really want to underscore that because as you can see, they're also beautiful. They're built to be creating what I talk about a lot in marketing speak is FOMO, fear of missing out. They're also built, there's a puppy here. I did not know that. That's okay. Hello. That totally sidetracked me. I apologize. I got 2 at home. This is great. And then obviously trip planning and reaching specific markets, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. Here's another piece here with some recognizable elements: food, wine, experiences, festivals, girls' trips, couples' trips, those sorts of things, biking. This region is rich. I do not have to remind you guys of that. You all are very aware of it. But these are our long-form and short-form content that's in market that we're able to leverage digitally and through print. Traditional and paid media would be the formal language there. This piece here is a really good piece of cartilage, if you will, from what was done before the board was formed and what's happened after the board was formed, because I think this was like our second or third board meeting. I'm looking over in the left corner here where we had this, but this was called The More We Get Together. I think many of you are aware of it. It was hosted at Helliwell Hall in St. Catharines, and it was essentially a speed run through all the best in Niagara and in St. Catharines and Lincoln, where media, targeted members of media, were welcome to come and experience the best in class of what we have to offer as a region. Forbes, Globe and Mail, Foodism, Canada's 100, a handful of influencers from traditional media and social media were invited to come and experience what we have. And one of the pieces for me personally that came out of this that I really liked was a through line on strength in people. Watching the content that came of it and reading the editorials in all these different publications, and then seeing the videos of the interviews with the lapel mic and the fuzzy mic on the metal spoon, was everyone talking about how the quality of people and staff that we have working at our facilities, regardless of accommodations, tourism, or food or culinary, is so strong. And so for guests, bless you, for guests to be able to come here and experience not only physically what we have to offer with beautiful landscape and buildings and architecture, but also quality of talent, that's as much as bringing people in to see what we have. It's also to talk to who we have, which I think is just a human element to this whole component. And these are some of the results. These are all Lincoln-based businesses. I'm not going to drain this slide because, to be honest, it intimidates me. But this is a lot of really positivity. This is meant to be that sort of slide where you look at it and you think, wow, we're doing something. But top middle is the food scene in Niagara starting to beat out Toronto's. These are the sorts of things that come out. Granted, they're meant to grab your eye, but that's what they do. And our competitors are doing that. And then when you read and you go into it and you come and experience it and you meet the people, that's when you're hooked. So that's what's really exciting about this. A lot of really good stuff here. I think you guys got this as a pre-read, so again, I'm not going to sit and read this whole thing, but meant to be a very positive slide. Again, I hesitate putting this slide up here. I'm not going to go through it. These are link clicks, and the biggest thing, maybe to root this slide is, we talk about all this work done in the upfront. We do the execution, and then a question I was asked back in January when we were dealing with closures was, are we winning? And that's the question that we'll continue to ask ourselves from both a marketing lens and then a broader organization lens, and this here is rooting that, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the upcoming slides. Another flash slide with photos of what we're working on, but these are some visuals of content that's in market right now. So these are meant to be visually identifying slides of streetscapes, vineyards, experiences, and then there's a wine-centric slide. There's many, many pages of here. What's not seen here is sailboats. There's a vineyard shot actually of Norm's Place on one of the pieces. This is Watering Can. There's the Port Dalhousie Lighthouse. There's all these components here, and they're all targeted at different groups. There's one of Beechwood Donuts, and it says, bring your kids for something to eat, or there's date nights, or there's weddings, or there's experiences, there's proposals, family trips, wineries, accommodations. We have a slew that doesn't fit on the slide, but the intention here is to show that we're reaching wide and far. And keep in mind, this has only been in market officially for 3 weeks, but my results are based on 2 weeks. So when Norm said we're moving fast, we're moving very fast. And big shout out to our partners, Loud and Clear, a St. Catharines-based organization who help us get this into market very quick. So just to give you a sense on the look and feel of what it is, what I'll also say just anecdotally is in our first marketing committee meeting, there was a lot of conversation of how do you take a DMO like this and translate it to consumer-facing content? That's the difficult part, because there's no Instagram page that says St. Catharines Lincoln Destination Partnership. It reads really well, but you get my point. And so what we discussed over that 45 minutes was it is the thought leader and the engine that supports the Wander Niagara, Benchlands, and Love STC handles that go out through all the various avenues to bring people in. So that is what the intention of this marketing committee is, just to make that very clear for the group today. I'm reaching the end. This is the 20,000 subscribers that we have in the bank. So with Mackenzie's support, we're going to be looking to utilize this. As many of you know, digital marketing and e-blast networks are at a premium right now. So we are starting very much ahead of the ball game. Third time I've mentioned that. So we're very fortunate to that. And thank you to the staff for all their work. And then lastly, everyone's favorite is budget. So there's a total revenue of $420,000 in the top left, split between the two municipalities just right of it. And then the bar to the right of that is an 80-20 split between administration and marketing. On the administration, you see things like executive director, accounting, insurance, office supplies, banking fees. There's lots of tourism events that we're going to be in the market and present, again, with our competitors. And then 80% going towards marketing, which I talked about a lot today. Our objectives in the bottom left of that bucket is to build awareness and seasonal experiences, trip planning and itineraries that you see through here, and then partner leads. I'm in the wine industry, and we talk a lot about bringing warm leads to your cellar door. This expands that. So these passport programs that the wineries do, you're expanding that to bring people down here to experience what we have to offer, and then it's on that business owner or that institution to welcome them. And that's where the people premium is, and I think we've got that. And then e-marketing audiences, and then the last point that I mentioned is measurement. We're very early for that. I will say in our first 2 weeks, we have a little bit of budget. It's just shy of $5,000 in marketing, and we've already experienced over 15,000 link clicks, driving our cost per click well under 20 cents. So those are early, indications that tell me people are interested. They want to know more, and that's enough. Now, as you know, with social media, it goes through a learning phase, and I won't get into all of that, but we're off to the races. Audience and channels include high-value leisure travelers in Ontario and U.S. With a 6-hour drive radius. Environics overlay, we did have a lot of work done by Environics beforehand. And then the Meta Suite and Reels, using different platforms and for different purposes and putting different content on them. Things like TikTok are meant for trip planning and itinerary. Facebook is beautiful and thumb-stopping, and that looks cool, I want to do that. We're having those kind of granular conversation. I give you that just as a peek into what's going on around the table, not to be too nerdy about it. And that is the end of my presentation. I will stop there. So thank you.
That's a pretty impressive little scenario of all the work that we've done in a very, very short period of time. I'm just going to say in closing that none of this would have happened without the leadership from Town of Lincoln staff, from the leadership from this council, in believing over, like I say, the last 5 to 7 or 8 years that this could actually be done and accomplished. And what I think we're really proud of is that we've taken this idea and we turned it into reality in a remarkably short period of time with a bunch of volunteers now that have worked extremely hard. Like I say, Mackenzie just started on Monday, last Monday. This work is all done just by volunteers to get us up and running. 20,000 email. I've owned my winery for 26 years. I don't have anywhere near that many, and we've done that in 6 or 7 months. So just a remarkable success story. Again, thank you to everyone here tonight for believing in us, for really fulfilling the whole idea from conception to where we are today. And we're now open for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much to all three of you. Thank you for your presentation. Are there questions from committee? Councillor Petrieva, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Guys, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm beyond ecstatic to see where it is now. Having lived through, the early days and kind of the vision, but you got there. You got it across the finish line, so kudos. Question to Craig, and it's in our staff report later on, but wanted to get your opinion. How important is it, Craig, that you have authentic photography rather than stock images? Because I'm going to stop right there. So yes, you go.
Thank you. I think my body language somewhat answers that. I was talking to Mackenzie before we came in here today, and what you've seen there is a start, not our best foot forward yet. If we don't start now, we miss summer. As a tourism operator, there's a lot of room for growth, but missing May long weekend's the unofficial kickoff to summer. So rather than having nothing, we wanted to get into market. Not only having authentic material, attainable material for people of different walks of life, but also recognizable material. We're not like a rolling hill of a vineyard is a rolling hill of a vineyard with a hidden bench logo on it. That's a sense of place. You're not just inspiring FOMO. You're marketing the land, the dirt, and the experiences that you can have within the four walls of these municipalities. It's at a premium. So that is we are very acutely aware of the importance on that in our committee.
Okay. And a follow-up, if I may. And again, the difference, I think, between us and the other regions is it's owner-operated. And you go in and you hear a story, you know, you'll see Norm, you'll see Len, you'll see the proprietor there. And in the past, they've done, in the winemaker's booths and things like that. So leveraging that experiential, right? That you can't put a price tag on it, but you can go back and tell the story, and then they become your cheerleaders. Are you going to continue down that path?
Well, that's why I started. It's a great point, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. That's why I started by talking about that anecdote on The More We Get Together with the quality of our people, because we have so much beauty to draw you in, and then once you're here and you communicate with the locals or the proprietors or the ambassadors or that person at a tasting room or that first face that you see at a hotel when you walk in, you get to know a little bit about Lincoln and what we're all about. So there's an absolute premium on people. It's a human touch of marketing, not just stock photography that says we want your money.
Yeah. Terrific. And final question, if I may. And it was drilled into my head over and over and over, the Napa Valley, Napa City model, right? St. Catharines was Napa City, we're the Valley. I'm really glad to see that that's going to continue. And I can see it shifting over time as the more accommodations come on board. Because a number of years ago, we didn't have that. But looking at the MAT tax that we're collecting and how that's going to completely fund the operation, I think is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
and awareness of that is what this is meant to build. So, for sure.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
If I can just add to that, Councillor, I mean, our whole goal here is to grow this business, not just through the MAT tax, but by our own fundraising efforts, by building a membership model that also helps fund it. I mean, Niagara-on-the-Lake, their DMO, right now I think has a budget of around $1.6 million. We're starting off with a budget of around $420,000. Yeah, I'm hoping in 5 years we're at that 1.6 and growing. So to be able to amplify the kind of work that Craig and his team have done with that kind of money spend, we can really put the thing on overdrive. So the whole goal here is to grow that revenue stream.
Yeah. You know, I look forward to it because the sky's the limit with something like that. So keep up the good work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patriva. We're going to go online to Councillor Russell now. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the delegation. Again, I do share Councillor Patriva's excitement with this whole endeavor. I know it's very early days, but it's been highly anticipated by a number of us. Just wanted to reference, again, where we are. I know we're still in the infancy side of it, but in terms of your KPIs, and again, you've got them listed, or a few of them listed in your reporting section of your presentation. I'm just wondering if at some point in the near future, we're going to be receiving a KPI targets for the next few years, so we have a barometer to measure the success of this against.
Through you, Chair. Short answer is yes, Councillor. With the partnership of the Loud and Clear as our media agency, that will provide the majority of our return on ad spend, our ROAS, for the investment that we're putting into the digital spaces. As you know, with some of the print media, you know, it is difficult to say, okay, this many people read it. You're really leaning on distribution, and you're trying to leverage the expertise around the table to make sure that you're playing in the right ponds, so to speak. And then obviously there's other metrics outside of the digital media space, and that's what Mackenzie and we'll be supporting him, and not only building but also holding accountable against. You know, I think a big one here is membership satisfaction, and then also we will see it. You know, as you drive around the streets of Lincoln and go to these businesses, are there more cars in the parking lot? Are our membership happy? You know, it is that wide. So there's granular digital KPIs, there's, larger satisfaction KPIs, and then there's just more people here. So that would be kind of a high level scope of what we're looking at. But yes, we would be able to, hopefully give you a little bit more information, and then using the Environics data to answer some of those larger visitation pieces beyond us staring at, Google Maps and watching for red lines on the QEW sort of thing, which we do. So, yeah.
No, that's great. And again, I think that last portion where, again, you mentioned more people in town, more people in parking lots, that's that part where, again, we really rely on, again, the sites to actually, again, advise us how they're doing same-store sales, how they're doing overall net yield, and then, again, trying to, again, correlate that back to the success of this. So, again, I do look forward to that very much. And, again, I wish you guys all the success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Miklik, please go ahead.
Thank you very much through you to the team. I just, this is really neat to see. I see a guy that bought a winery 26 years ago, probably didn't know much about the wine industry, and he's grown and learned, and he's got plenty of experience with, putting his hand in his pocket and getting his hands dirty. And then I see another youthful fellow that I used to change the oil for this kid when he was in high school. And I look at how far he's come, and both of you share the same thing, and that's a passion and a drive to be successful. And I'm confident just by hearing the two of you present and delegate, along with Mackenzie, that who I met in the parking lot, and very ambitious. I'm very confident with how this board is taking off so far. It's a challenging subject, tourism, because the taxpayer, to Norm's point earlier, like, why should we pay? So I'm loving the fact that the MAT tax is well on its way, and it's on its way to support the tourism sector as a standalone and on its own. I think that's fantastic. With that, I see that there's people on this board that are contributing to the they're collecting, remitting the MAT tax. How are they feeling about all of that? Because really, the wine sector is doing really well, and stores are doing really well, but it's the accommodations that are paying. So what's the mood? Is it as positive amongst those remitting, collecting?
Yes, Councillor, that's a great question, because yes, they're the ones that pay for it. So you want to make sure you keep them happy. One of the greatest attributes that we have as an organization is we have such a broad spectrum of cultural, historic, accommodating. Like, we're the real deal. We've got it. We've got it all. Those folks that are involved in the accommodation sector recognize that without some of the historical contributions that are made here, the heritage, the Bruce Trail, the natural environment that we're in, the hiking, all of the other activities that go into making up a great DMO are the things that drive people to their hotel rooms. So their accommodations go up. If we're successful, they're successful, and they clearly connect the dots on that one. So they're enthusiastic and very engaged participants at our board. We've got 3 accommodations members on our board, which is great, and they're highly contributive at our board sessions. And as I said, we haven't even had a chance to do our strat plan. It's a great question on KPIs, because we have a lot of work to do on that yet, and you got to pinch yourself and say, geez, we've only been around for 6 months. Look at all the things that we've done in such a short period of time, but there's still lots of work left to do. So back to your question, Councillor. So far, our accommodations folks are pretty pleased with the whole thing that's going on, and I think they see the future.
Terrific. That's good to hear. It's important to know. As far as KPIs go, yeah, I can tell how things are going. I mean, impressions, clicks, and all this stuff. I don't know if that's somebody from China that accidentally clicked, Wanderer's Welcome or something, or if it's somebody that's actually coming. But I can tell just by walking through Jordan Village if it's a busy weekend. So that's my KPI, and your KPI is probably how much cash is in the cash register.
Absolutely.
So, creating events and this sort of thing, who's going to be managing that? Because one thing that, you have this destination marketing fund, which is similar to organization, similar to 20 Valley Tourism. And 20 Valley Tourism would organize events and try to draw people from all over, signature events, yearly events, one-offs. Who's going to be doing or maintaining or managing all of that sort of thing?
I'll kick that off, Councillor, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Kind of look at the DMO as the parent corporation, right? We have already set up the winery organization set up the Niagara Benchlands, and they are actually out there creating their own events already. I can see that happening in the antique sector. I can see that happening all across the different offerings we have within the DMO that will go out there and actually create some of the driving events that will attract people to the region, while the DMO is promoting them, while it's generating the conversation at the local level to make sure that those sort of things are happening. But really look at kind of the overseer, on top of the overall activity, the DMO will be directing that kind of traffic. Do you want to take it from there?
Said otherwise, to build on those comments, we enhance, we don't manage, would be a simple way to put it, Councillor. Is you're right that those previous TVTA and those groups would facilitate, market, execute, clean up, everything in between. To have groups like Benchlands Wineries or other co-ops, if you will, put events on that are meant to bring people in. They can come to us not only for marketing enhancement, so we're using our platform to build it up to generate more awareness beyond the means that they might have. One day potentially reaching a point to support with grant funding is something that a lot of our competition and competitive DMOs are also doing. So if you wanted to run a campaign for XYZ, you could apply through the grant funding. We would support that. That's down the road, but those are examples of where we'd like to get to. That also supports the focus of the group and the board, and Mackenzie's time is he's not an event planner. He's meant to build and he was, but he's meant to build and enhance these. If that point is clear, I just wanted to add that if I could.
No, that's great.
When I see in this one slide where save the date, the more we get together, this is an event by the looks of it, so I wasn't sure what all was in your purview.
Well, that's a great example, Councillor, of DMO bringing together influencers, media, press from all over the province, from all over the country, and bringing them down and having them focus on all the very unique things we have to offer. So it's not really an event in the sense that it's for the general public. It's for people. It's for influencers. It's for people that are going to go out and write articles about what's going on here, and that's really the role of the DMO.
Perfect. And last question. Thank you. So with all of this, with advertising, promoting, competition out there amongst other municipalities, is it safe for me to say, as somebody reading the paper or watching advertising, that most of these columnists, most of these stories, most of these visits that people, they're all paid for the most part?
Generally speaking, Councillor, there's certainly a lot of money spent today and that money competes for influencers, for advertisers. There's the occasional freebie that walks across your desk. I always welcome in my winery whenever they stumble by, but you need to have a compelling story in order to really attract that kind of attention. I firmly believe that someday we're all going to be rich and famous. I mean, because we have so much to offer here in West Niagara. So we have so much content. We have, as Craig talked about, we have the people. Traveling, when you come as a tourist into West Niagara, into the Niagara Benchlands, into Wander, our people are our greatest asset, because folks leave here going, man, what a great experience! What lovely people! I just felt so warm and welcomed, right? So to go back to your question, yeah, a lot of it is paid, and it takes money to attract some of that. But once you start building some momentum, a lot of it is just driven on its own, on word of mouth and that sort of thing. Do you want to add to that?
Just really quick, I know we're time sensitive, but I hear what you're saying in terms of, is it all fake or is it all real when you're reading it every day? The initial pieces are very targeted. They're meant to be built towards, certain people or targeted on social media, depending on cookies and scrolling habits and things like that. From a print media perspective, there are components of that, but as Norm mentioned, when someone calls you and goes, hey, I'm working on something. I was at that place. Can you put me in touch with that person? That's the halo effect. And that's where things start to get into, cruise control or cruising altitude, if you will. We have a lot of relationships around the table in a lot of sectors from the board and then beyond with staff and whatnot. So there's a get off the ground component. But I mean, to bring people down in the specials that you see on, breakfast television and things like that, those cost money. And this DMO can help amplify something at a nursery that they might not be able to afford to send down a reporter with a camera crew and a truck to come and do this. So is it paid for targeted purposes? Sometimes, but also it's just to allow exposure to get you where you need to be when they don't have a gap in their programming calendar.
Perfect. No, thank you. I just, I am supportive of the tourism sector. I'm also supportive of keeping life affordable for the taxpayer that funds a lot of this. But I can say that tourism and ECTA do go hand in hand, because my two kids themselves, they worked one at various wineries in the area, and they were able to actually walk to their jobs when they were young. So I do appreciate the effort and the enthusiasm you're all sharing with us tonight.
And Councillor, if I may add through you, Madam Chair, you have my full commitment that this is not just going to be a tab that's picked up by the City of St. Catharines at the town of Lincoln. We're going to take your investment and we're going to leverage it, and we're going to grow it. And you're going to get 10 times the value out of this in the end than your initial investment. So that's my commitment to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Reimer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation tonight, for your enthusiasm, for your passion for this. I'd like to just direct a comment to staff first, then I have a question. It's been very educational, informative to be part of the Benchlands journey as someone who is not a marketing or, that's just foreign to me. So it's been educational. It's been a great experience. I just want to thank Paul and staff for that, for initiating this and for, sort of the journey that you've taken council through. Question for you, Norm. And I'm saying this from someone who's lived here his whole life, and who all this excitement wasn't here not that long ago. And some of this stuff can sneak up on you. I noticed that in our own friend group or family, extended family that live further away. When they come to visit, it's not left up for us what to do. They already have planned. They said, hey, we heard about this, or there's a concert at this, there's an experience we need to be part of here. We want to visit this fruit stand. Like, there's destinations they've already known about, whether they're visiting them again, but it's expanded. So it's sort of, it kind of sneaks up on you. So looking to you, Norm, for because you come from out of town, technically, and I realize your previous experience wasn't necessarily winery and tourism, but you bring a unique perspective of this, and you've kind of answered it a little bit already. You've kind of danced around it, but you personally, how do you envision, it's similar to your opening, but a little more extended, how do you vision this DMO and in regards to what the impact's going to be on the local economy in a practical lens, like in a small business owner, entrepreneur? What does that 5-year lens and 10-year lens look like to Norm Beal? Like, what is it, how do you see that in the town of Lincoln? I'm interested in your input. Through you, Chair Murray.
Councillor, that's a great question. Thank you very much for asking it. I can't think of many places in the world, and I've traveled all over the world extensively, that have as much diverse things on offer than we do here between the town of Lincoln and the city of St. Catharines. I mean, it truly is remarkable when you think of the Bruce Trail, the Niagara Escarpment, Lake Ontario, the cultural heritage. We have history. I mean, my restaurant was built in 1885. The property was founded in 1790 by a couple of Americans that didn't like the president at the time, so decided to move up here and we can relate to that nowadays, can't we?
Yeah.
So
I was waiting for that.
It truly is a remarkable place, and we have an opportunity. I love this place. You were born and raised. You love it. I would say we probably love it equally. And what's really important to me, and I've mentioned this to the mayor many times, is that 5, 10, 15 years from now, how do we keep the kind of the cultural and community continuity that we have now? How do we keep this place, as we grow and as we see smart development happen over time, how do we do that in a way where we don't lose all of that, all of those important components that make us what we are today? And I believe very strongly that taking this path along tourism will allow us to do that in a way that you don't get that opportunity. Mississauga has to have 25 massive food processing plants because that's what Mississauga is. They don't have a tourism anchor. They don't have the cultural gifts that we all have here. They don't have the #1 raptor migratory route in North America right through the center of our town, right? So we have all these great attributes that are going to allow us to smartly develop, but still keep this great sense of community, of country, of agricultural history, that sort of thing. All of those really things are very, very important to me. It's so that my son can grow up here and have children, have my grandchildren, and experience the same things that I experienced today. So that's a long-winded sort of answer to that question, but it really, truly is a part of my passion, and it's such a rare opportunity for us to be able to exploit.
Yeah. No, thank you, Norm. Appreciate your view. Thank you very much, Chair Murray.
Thank you, Councillor. Mayor Easton, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm very happy that you came, that all of you came tonight. I think it's a testimony to the interest that the public have in what's going on, that all of these folks that came for a totally different topic are still here. They either have nothing to do or you're a riveting speaker. So thank you very much. I know that the town has made a lot of investments in tourism. There were many years when money was flowing out for 20 Valley, and it would be quite hard, I think, right now to calculate what the value of all of that was. But no question about it, there was a belief that it was the right thing to do. And there were certainly many, many opportunities and a load of fun for people that came here, particularly during those winter events, which were quite unique. And now to be moving, to be transitioning into this, which has 3 parts to it. You know, and I hope that we will continue to see growth with the MAT structure, because that is certainly something to measure, very capable of measuring that. So it's great work that you're doing, and I'm very pleased, Norm, that the intentions were to bring more new blood into this, and that's what you've done, and that's a good thing, because I am just on my hobby horse most days now, talking about pattern behaviors where you use and consult the same people over and over again, no matter what it is you're doing. There's this list that you go to. These are the go-to people, and I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. So we have lots of things to be grateful for, and I want to talk about education and accommodation for workers, and I want to talk about Indigenous involvement, because I'm kind of have an idea that there was some Indigenous representation at the board meeting, but now I can't remember, so I'm going to ask you to remind us about that. So first, let me talk about strengthening the framework as we are opening up these opportunities. I want everybody to know just how strong this organization is, and that it's not just a litany of platitudes, but there's serious work that's going on here. So in the past, we have always attempted to develop and extend our relationships both at the Brock University level and also at the Niagara College level, where, by the way, I don't know what percentage of their Students are coming into hospitality, but I expect it's pretty big. Some of those students live in the area, some of them don't. So speak to us about the relationships that you're planning to have, if you are planning to have them, I hope you are, and how that all works with having a big enough workforce and a talented workforce because you've actually got places for them to live.
Yes, Madam Mayor, that's an excellent question, and I'd like to have a full and complete answer for you on that one, but I'll tell you what, it's a work in progress. Literally, Mackenzie started on Monday, so we haven't had a full-time executive director, but I can tell you right now, he's already been charged with going through the stakeholder list, and it's extensive. And of course, Brock University, Niagara College, all of those key components, local high schools, they are all on that stakeholder list. So we will be engaging them. Mackenzie will be engaging them. Our board will be engaging them as we go forward. And the other most important thing that's going to happen in hopefully the next several months is that we're going to sit down and we're going to build our strategic plan. And we're going to, through that strategic planning process, we're going to identify the key components, like the ones you were just talking about, whether it's education, educational institutions, what stakeholders are missing around our table. We have actually, as you see in our board of directors, a very, very dynamic and broad group of interests at that board. And one thing's very important to me is that that it's not always winery driven, because there's a lot more assets here within this DMO than simply just the wineries. I mean, as you know, the culinary scene in St. Catharines, West Niagara is absolutely taking off. We have, Michelin star restaurants now opening up all over the place. So we're really building a reputation around those sort of things. So it's a great question. We have lots of stakeholders that we need to get out and engage. We now have a full-time executive director that's going to be doing that, and that's on his top of his list of priorities.
Okay, well, I'll accept that for the time being, understanding that what you've said is really quite logical. But I would remind you that I certainly hope that we're going to see you all back here before 12 months. I'll come in for the meeting. If I know you're coming, I'll come into the meeting. Because
we'll be here.
It's going to be extremely important for the council to be completely up to date at all times about the success. And I say that because of the past investments. You can put them over here in your mind, knowing that there's all this really positive and tremendously effective management going on of the future. So that will be very important.
If I may, our plan already has been is that once our strategic planning work is done, we would want to come back and immediately update council on what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So tell me, I know that the Indigenous membership is, it's certainly, they're certainly a stakeholder, but they're more than a stakeholder. And so have you been in touch with them, or are they approaching you at all? How is that working?
Mayor, I have been approached. I have had some very peripheral conversations with the Indigenous community who are also trying to establish educational processes for themselves so that they can actually start talking to more consumer level sort of experiential things. And I think that's a great opportunity that we should be inviting. It's another key component to the tremendous offering we already have. And I think it's extremely important. It's unique. It's something that we can talk to, I think, very importantly about because it's so deeply rooted within our community. I think it's a great part of the story that we want to tell. But again, early out of the gates here so far, something that will definitely get on Mackenzie's agenda.
Right. Well, there'll be some who will argue that we need to get them on the list before we start making plans, but we are learning as we go along when it comes to truth and reconciliation. Thank you very much. This is extremely successful. I'm very happy to see this coming to fruition. and certainly the quality of the events that are being executed are really quite outstanding. And we should, I think we are all very, very proud of what is being showcased in this community and through into St. Catharines. It's a great part of Niagara. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. So recognizing that you guys have only been in place for 6 months, but I do also recognize that there's a lot of the foundation that's been worked on over the last number of years with the Economic Development Department of both organizations, both communities. But there's some exciting activations and accomplishments that have been happening, and kudos to you for that. As you're looking forward, as you've kind of got this groundwork in place, you've got Mackenzie ready to run, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are seeing that he's going to have to be tackling in the next 6 months to a year?
I didn't know we were having a performance review today. There are all kinds of challenges. I think the first thing that we need to focus is on building a membership. Well, of course, getting a strategic plan put together that really reflects a strong five-year and beyond vision. That's a challenge that needs to happen. It needs to really be developed in order that we can give Mackenzie some direction over the next several years and get him off and running. There are certainly communications challenges that we need to continue to build on. There are fundraising, as I said, in the commitment I made to Councillor Mikulik, it is my goal that this is not something that's solely funded by the municipalities, is that we're actually become self-funded. Like I say, building a membership structure that works, that is fully participatory and engaging, but also drives revenue. So, I mean, for me, revenue is always your number one challenge. The more money we can raise, the more money we can build on, the more money we can go out, get folks like Craig out there really leveraging sort of the activity here because he's got dollars to spend. Right now, a $420,000 budget, that doesn't scratch the surface when it comes to developing marketing campaigns. You really need more than that. So that's the challenges right now, is getting over there, accessing those resources, building the strategic plan, picking the direction, engaging with our many stakeholders. Those are all the challenges we have in the immediate future, and we'll build from there.
Great, thanks. And yeah, go ahead, Craig.
If I could just,
Yes.
just to build on one of the comments, it's a great question. One of the questions I asked, I think it was our second or third board meeting, is do we have a list of all of our members? You asked about, Councillor, about KPIs. It's in the thousands. In a lot of the work that I do, it's 50 to 80 to 100, and names and people, and you can make connections. Stakeholder engagement for Mackenzie and the questions that you asked, Mayor, with those key groups, a challenge that I'm seeing is how do you wrap your arms around all of it to make sure that it's benefiting everyone, not just the segments around the table. It's not a challenge that money can fix or Better Brains can fix. It's just consistency, and I think actually Better Brains is just being thoughtful, and you touched on it, Councillor, too, around what you're putting in market. It can't be repetition. We're so rich, and if you just focus on that top 20%, we'll lose, which comes back to the KPI question, because they will voice their commentary. So that is a challenge from a marketing perspective. We love all our children equally, but if we're bringing people in, there's so much to talk about, and there's so many stakeholders. So the member stakeholder engagement piece and that database, it's daunting, to be quite honest with you. It's 2 municipalities. So that is, our first touch is get something out. Let's get an ED in place. Let's rock and roll. It's exciting, but intention becomes very important very quick.
Great, thank you. Just because you brought up funding, Norm, and your slide number, what is this? Well, 14 does talk a little bit about your budget and about the split of your budget. Now, I recognize that you guys have said this more often. There's new funding models that you're planning to tap into. The MAT is going to be increasing as accommodations increase, as more people are coming in. So there is absolutely going to be a growth pattern towards how much money you have to spend. My question is more so around that 20-80 split. recognizing that right now that 20% is pretty low, only half a year's salary for Mackenzie. So as you continue to build, is that a ratio you're looking to continue to keep, or is that ratio changing in terms of 20 admin, 80 marketing?
Well, thank you, Councillor. I think it's a great question. I think a 20-80 split is a pretty dismal outcome, frankly. If you're spending I don't give to any charities that 20% of their costs are administration. I just don't think that's a very valuable spend. So no, I would expect that your 20% is going to go much down to a normal operating range, and I would really hope that the majority of our annual spend, is on actually going out there and getting the job done.
All right, excellent. I appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate that we spent a lot of time grilling you, so thank you for being ready and having all of the answers for us. Seeing no further questions, I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer that committee receive and file for information the delegation from Norm Beal, Craig Swanson, and Mackenzie Keast regarding the 2025 Destination Marketing Organization Update Report EDC-08-26. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. Councillor Reimer? Thank you. The vote is closed, and that carries.
Excellent. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us. Now we're on to item 7.2 of our agenda. And again, thank you to those who are leaving the gallery who joined us for the affordable housing conversation. Thank you very much for your time. We will now consider item 7.2.1, 2025 Destination Marketing Organization DMO Update, Report EDC-08-26. Yes, so this is, we do have Director Danny. My script's a little bit, I have a note, but here it is. Director Danny is going to provide some comments. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, Mayor Easton and members of council. And I was going to make a bunch of comments this evening, but I think the three board members that we had up here this evening, or two board members and the executive director, well encapsulated the feeling and the sentiment that everyone has in regards to what we've accomplished over this last little bit. And so, I just really wanted to reiterate that when we started this project many, many moons ago, we really did talk about how we can move this community forward when it comes to tourism and economic development and value-added agriculture. And when we started having some of the preliminary conversations around putting a DMO together and having a tourism function here in the town of Lincoln, some of the comments that I received, well, why don't you just do it all in-house? Why do you need a third-party organization to help run and promote tourism and marketing? You can do it, you can hire people. Well, my answer to that is, well, look what you just saw. I think with a public-private partnership, we're moving this organization and community forward, and we have the right people at the table to help accomplish the goals that we set out. So I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. But really, at the end of the day, as I mentioned, and you've probably heard me say ad nauseum up here, tourism is economic development in Lincoln, and economic development is tourism in our community. So we're really trying to grow and attract investment, and we're seeing some of the fruits of our labor already when it comes to the new tourism hotels coming on board, new wineries, craft beverage partners, beers and such. So we're seeing the fruits of our labor, and I just wanted to personally thank the three individuals for coming up again this evening and the hard work that the board is doing even in the short amount of time. I do reference, Chair, your comments around all the groundwork and foundational work we did over the past few years, and we've done a lot of that. And so I'm very happy that we're here where we are today. So, Chair, back to you.
Thank you so much. Do we have questions from committee regarding report EDC-08-26? Councillor Reimer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Just through one of your, thanks, Paul, for this report. And it's more of curiosity than anything. In your advertising in the report, it goes through a list of a number of accomplishments there. And very similar to my ask of Norm before, it's got promoted Pearl Morissette's Michelin Star Award. So I know Daniel fairly well. I know Eric a little bit. I've been fortunate enough to actually have a meal there a few years ago at Pearl Morissette's. I make a mean steak, and I'm okay on the barbecue, but same thing. I don't know what this Michelin star is. I know it's big, how big is it? Like as far as same kind of context as Norm's was, like from the outside looking in. Like what is that? You know, I see you advertised it and promoted it. How big is big? Just curious. Through you, Chair Murray.
Through you, Chair, to the councillor, the one way I'm going to say it's huge, councillor. Michelin-starred restaurants receive visitation from people throughout the world. People will travel from Michelin-starred restaurants just to try their food. So not only does Pearl Morrison have 1 Michelin star, they have 2, and the top is 3. So they're well on their way to achieving their goals, which was hopefully a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant. But at the end of the day, people will travel from around the world to visit Michelin-starred restaurants, which means they're coming to Lincoln, they're coming to Niagara Benchlands, not only to have the meal, they're staying overnight, they're experiencing wineries and other things. So it is a huge accomplishment. The only ones in Ontario, in the Niagara region.
Okay.
So.
All right, very cool. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Murray.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miklik, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through you to Paul, thank you for all the work you and your staff have done with all of this. I think, from where it began and where it's going, it seems to be going on the right trajectory, and it's kudos to you and your staff for ensuring that path forward. Now, we're here in Lincoln Chambers. Has this presentation, this delegation, been to St. Catharines yet? I'm trying to. I don't sit in on their meetings at all. I don't know what the mood is like there. They're partners, but is there a lot of this happy enthusiasm and excitement? Is it equal over there as it is what I'm sensing here?
So through you, Chair, to the councillor, the presentation hasn't been set yet, so they have not gone to the City of St. Catharines. I think it was supposed to be in June, but then pushed back to the fall. So you've heard it first, but they will be going forward with this presentation over there. Is the enthusiasm the same level over on that side of the community or our partnership?
What's it like?
Yes. I know I sat in through a few presentations when we were starting the formulation and really presenting to their council in terms of what we were going to be doing, everything that you would have seen here. There was a lot of enthusiasm. There was a lot of appreciation for that work. And I know that there is some representation on the board from that side of our regional partnership. And there's, as Chair Beal indicated, there's a lot of enthusiasm from those members. And we're going to be sharing that out further with more of the tourism hospitality businesses in the City of St. Catharines. So short answer, yes. But that presentation to that council will be going to the fall.
Perfect. Again, I'm only asking because I'm sitting in this chair, not any chair in that council chamber. So that's good to hear. I think it's important to maintain that relationship, right? Like it's a partnership, and I think that it's best if everyone's just as happy and excited as we are. So, thank you.
Mayor Easton, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Diani, thank you very much for bringing this report forward. I suppose you could have just passed on this since the previous report was so comprehensive in a very focused way. But what you've done is ensured that the memories of all of us in terms of the impact of particularly the on-farm diversified program has such a big story to tell around tourism. And we always knew that that was the case, but now to see it in writing, to see how it's impacted our economy and jobs, and the creation of a very, very comprehensive economic plan is really quite satisfying. So this is a very good report. I really enjoyed reading it. It's very up to date in terms of the impacts, and I think you've included all of the important elements, including the construction values and a lot of those key points that help us to measure how important having programs like this are to our community. I think we have dealt with some criticism because either people don't understand or they just really don't want to be bothered having an investment such as tourism in the community. They don't know what it means in terms of creating jobs. maintaining youth, and all of the things that have been discussed this evening. But I think that we've been making the correct decisions, and that this very well represents what the future is going to look like. It's a good jumping off point for the next stage, whatever that might be. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Councillor Petriva,
If
please.
I may, Madam Chair,
Of
just
course.
quickly, thank you for your comments, Madam Mayor. And I do want to highlight that this is a perfect time because the province is unveiling or working on their new Niagara destination strategy. And they are putting a lot of effort into helping grow Niagara as a destination. In my spare time, I sit on the board of the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, and this has individuals from all over the province represented in this organization, and they are consistently, and I'll say it publicly, jealous that the province is really focusing on tourism in Niagara because they do represent and do recognize how we can grow our economy here in Niagara and the jewel that is Niagara when it comes to international tourism, not just obviously in Ontario, but across the borders. And so it's a perfect time to be unveiling this and having a leg up when it comes to that destination strategy and working in tandem with them.
Thank you for that. Councillor Petriva, please go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Chair Murray, just a couple quick ones. Thanks again, Paul, for the report, and to your team. In 2022, the DMO estimated or attracted an estimated 227,500 Canadian visitors, 64 same day, 36 overnight. Do you know when the next set of numbers might come out? Is that something you get from StatsCan, or is that something that you get from the partners?
Through you, Chair, to the Councillor. So Stats Canada would provide some of those numbers, Councillor, but really any robust tourism destination needs to have a good metric program in place. And that's really working with our tourism partners to really identify who's coming here, why they're coming here, how long they're coming, and what they're spending. Okay. So it's a little bit of a both to answer your question. Yeah.
And then, a follow-up too, and Norm touched on it. $69.6 million in total economic output. Like, these are huge numbers. 37.6 million in direct and 32 million in indirect spending. What is, Paul, what's an example of indirect spending? What would that be?
Yep, through you, Councillor. So indirect spending would be, like if you're driving to the community and you need to fill up your car
Okay.
gas, that would be an indirect spend.
Okay, so groceries, gas,
groceries. If
yes.
you need to stop in the Shoppers Drug Mart, the local drug mart to pick up stuff, those would be indirect spending. But because it's money and people come from outside of the community, it's calculated in the economic impact.
It's part of an economic spinoff, right? Into the broader sector.
Yeah.
Or the broader reach.
Community, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So it shows the depth and the breadth that the driver of tourism has. So it's not only those operators, it's the ancillary businesses as well. So everyone stands to gain.
Yep, correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I was looking at the economic impact study data as well, and under the key highlights, the data that we have is from 2022 in terms of how many people have visited at this point, right? The 227 Canadian visitors. But then the scenario modeling is really the point that matters. But they're saying that even modest increases in visitation could generate meaningful economic returns. A 2% increase in incremental visitors could. And then it goes on to say how much of an increase that would be. Do we have some sort of, so that's a scenario model, but do we have any kind of target models in terms of what we're hoping from 2022 to, say, 2028? What are we hoping to see in terms of that growth of tourism? What percentage are we looking at?
Chair, exponential. I think that's what we're looking for. But I mean, I think we've talked about sort of targets and models, and so I don't have a number off my head, but it's something that the DMO and the board we're going to be really looking at. I think it was Craig or Norm really talked about some of the KPIs. Those are things that we're going to be looking at when we have those discussions, and part of it is going to be that strat plan that the chair indicated.
All right, excellent. I'm seeing no further questions from committee, so at this point, I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer that committee receive and file for information report EDC-08-26 regarding the 2025 Destination Marketing Organization, DMO, update. I will ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed, and that carries.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. We will now consider item 7.2.2, Growing Forward, 2025 Economic Development and Tourism Year in Review, Report EDC-07-26. Our Director of Economic Development and Communications will provide comments. Director Deanne, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So, Madam Mayor, Chair, members of council, we are pleased to present the Tourism and Economic Development 2025 Year in Review report. This report highlights the work our team has undertaken over the past few years to support local businesses, attract new investments, strengthen tourism, and position Lincoln for long-term economic success. While, of course, 2025 presented challenges, including tariffs, trade uncertainty, broader economic pressures, Lincoln's economy continued to demonstrate resilience. We saw an increase in economic activity, job creation, and new businesses coming to Lincoln. In total, our local economy has reached more than 16,000 jobs, a success for our community and the economic development initiatives and activities we have undertaken. Beyond the numbers, this report demonstrates how economic development creates the conditions for investment, job creation, and prosperity. I've always said the role that we do is really to create the groundwork for investment, to create those businesses coming and investors coming in private sector dollars, and we're seeing the fruits of our labor on that. Economic development, as everyone well knows, takes a lot of time to help set that table, but you keep at it, you persist, and you start to see those initiatives working. So, of course, none of this happens in isolation. Our success is really built on strong partnerships. Partnership with council, the business community, the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, the downtown Beamsville BIA, the NAG region, and, of course, our new DMO. And included upper levels of government. So I want to thank the Economic Development Department, the tourism staff, and the continued efforts we're making to help grow our local economy. And with that, Chair, I know Stephanie wants to make a few brief comments, followed by Caitlin, and of course, we're open for questions. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Deanne, and good evening, Mayor, members of council. Building on what Paul was saying, I just want to highlight some direct activities reflected in the report. This is also my first presentation to council in this capacity since joining the Economic Development and Tourism team in August 2025. So I'm pleased to share some of the work that I have supported. In 2025, Lincoln recorded approximately $132.7 million in estimated construction value. It's a 31% increase over previous years. We also saw continued investment from established local businesses, including Opart Hygiene, Moyer's Apples, Good Earth Wine Company, and Second Chance Decor in their expansion pieces. The Lincoln Community Hub was another major focus. Staff promoted the facility, conducted tours, and supported prospective incoming tenants. That groundwork is now helping the hub become a more active community and economic asset. I can tell you I know that school inside out now. We also have worked with the Downtown Beamsville BIA and the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce to launch the Lincoln Tariff Response Team in early 2025 with coordinating information on advocacy and buy and support local when there was the T word, the tariffs, the upcoming tariff speak really early in the beginning. Business communications remain strong. We did 22 newsletters issued, so these are the economic e-blast specific. We've had subscriber growth of 15%, an average open rate of 49%, which is really good in the e-blast world. With our workforce initiatives included the workinlincoln.ca website, which still hosts, I believe it was about 30 jobs were posted and 40, I can't remember the stat, sorry, but a certain number of resumes were uploaded there. And we partnered with Employment Help Center on a job fair in the spring, which saw about 25 employers and 470 job seekers. Lincoln also welcomed through the Towns Incentive Program, supported another physician, as well as supported the Lincoln Medical Clinic in attracting an additional physician. So looking ahead, our focus remains on business engagement, investment support, workforce development, continued activation of the Lincoln Community Hub, and promoting Lincoln as a strong place to live, work, and invest. And I'm now going to pass it over to Caitlin to talk a little bit about the tourism.
Much shorter than everybody else, so thank you, Stephanie. Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of our key achievements and ongoing initiatives from a tourism perspective, which we've heard plenty about already, but just to top it off with a few more key highlights. So in 2025, we saw the successful launch of a newly redesigned Niagara Benchland's website, which serves as the primary digital gateway to the region. We also expanded the visibility of the Niagara Benchlands brand through several successful brand activations, including Brunch by the Lake, Harvest Fest in Jordan Village, the International Plowing Match, and Fling Off King. Supporting and engaging our tourism operators was also a major focus this year. We hosted a tourism town hall to engage industry collaboration, share updates, and gather feedback. In addition, we delivered an educational series for our short-term accommodations operators, providing tools and information to help operators succeed while supporting responsible tourism growth. These accomplishments reflect our ongoing commitment to building a strong and sustainable visitor economy, fostering industry partnerships, and positioning the Niagara Benchlands as a must-visit destination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Were you planning on wrapping up, or am I open? Okay, excellent. I wasn't sure if you had some closing comments that you wanted to make. Okay, excellent. We will now open it up to questions from committee. Councillor Pachariva, you're first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to Paul and the team, thank you very much for your report. Question, so with the chart on page 10, so funding organizations and value of awards. So the TPN, how do we get a couple more zeros behind that number, knowing how much money they have and things they funded in the past, like fireworks and bicycle events? And I mean, we've got this, and that was part of the whole strategy of that was you can't market 12 distinctive municipalities, so the encourage of the St. Catharines Lincoln subgroup was from the get-go. But I mean, if we're getting $1,400 to market an absolute jewel, how does that happen? And how do we put a couple more zeros behind that? What do we need to do, Paul?
So through you, Chair, it's strong relationships, councillors, is really how you do it. And the good thing is that the more you put into the market, the more that they're going to help support. And the TPN doesn't really just write a check. What they do is they start to match dollars in marketing spend. But I'm going to turn over to Caitlin to answer a little bit of that, because I know she's had more of the meetings than I have.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. Yes, absolutely. The TPN is a gold mine. I will admit it's becoming more and more competitive to gain funding through the TPN, but one of their key pillars is focusing on collaboration. And so the fact that we have the St. Catharines Lincoln Destination Partnership is huge. So it is something that we are continuing those conversations. We're discussing for the next intake of funding. But if you actually reference the DMO report, I believe it's in there, we have some funding. That was just the town portion in the Economic Development Year in Review. There was some dedicated to the DMO as well, which went towards our The More We Get Together event.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, terrific.
I want to say it was in the range of 200,000? 217 to be exact.
Okay,
so there was a decent amount of money.
Okay, that's much better, and that's good to hear, because it was a best in class, like South Shore, St. Catharines, Lincoln, Niagara Falls, and Niagara Lake together. So okay, so that makes me feel much better. Second question, if I may, Madam Chair, and you touched on it with the BDSS, the community hub. Oh, there it is, Lincoln Community Hub. And knowing what we paid for the event, or paid for the site, and seeing how it's kind of burgeoning into a true community hub, wanted to either you, Paul, or Mr. CAO, knowing we got grants for the redevelopment of the daycare and the early on, wanted to maybe get the value of those, and how does that measure up with what we actually paid for the site? Curious.
Yeah, through you, Chair, to the councillor. So through the Niagara region, I know the daycare received approximately around $2 million to do the renovation. The early on program was in the tune of $80,000. And so a good chunk of change going into a small portion of the community hub to renovate for those needs. But obviously has a lot of tentacles into the community in terms of providing childcare space, daycare space, and so on and so forth. So a good chunk of change for sure.
Okay, and I mean, those are, and it's encouraging to see other areas in the region and, you know, coming forth because they see the value in it, right? You wouldn't put $2 million behind something if you didn't see the value. And I know that, you know, last election going door to door, I heard the need for daycare space. That's something that's been around, you know, since my first time on council when you know, the daycare closed and that my kids were going to and moved. So it's something encouraging to see the doubling of space and opening up to newborns, something we haven't had in a long time. So I just wanted to commend you and your group for all of those countless fam tours and taking people through, because you know what? It's working. So keep up the good work. Keep up those tours and attract some more people. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, seeing no further questions from, oh, no, Councillor Miklick jumped in just in time.
Sorry about that. Okay, so this is all good news. It's all terrific news. Your team is working hard, and that's great. But I wish I was probably brought up in a different environment. Like, my parents were always tougher on me, so I'm just going to ask the questions that, you know, my parents would ask me. Like, so when we talk in this report, like this fantastic report that, you know, we've added 4,400 jobs since 2015, like, do we track how many have we lost, or do we you know, we go to grand openings, we go to ribbon cuttings, but like, not all businesses are destined to succeed. Do we track the downside of things? Like, is this 4,400 jobs added? Did we lose jobs also, or what does this work mean?
Through your chair to the councillor. So these are Statistics Canada values, councillor, and it includes, so it's net positive. It includes the natural ebb and flow of jobs lost. So this would be an increase into whatever jobs were lost. We do know that businesses close, unfortunately. It's an economic, story that, you know, businesses succeed, some unfortunately don't. But the good news is every time that we've had something close, we've seen something come in and take its place. And it's a net new job. So these would be net new over the past 10 years.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's net new.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. The same thing goes with the 3,508 businesses. That's net. Okay, perfect. From a high level ACTEV perspective, on a international, because you know, you have this tariff response team. Like, KPMG came out with a report that 42% of Canadian businesses have indicated a potential move, 77% expecting to make that transition in the next 2 years. What are you hearing from the manufacturing community that we rely on that produce high-paying jobs? What have we been hearing? I haven't been hearing much lately from.
So through you to the councillor, and a great question. I saw that stat as well that came out last week or the week before in terms of KPMG, and it's unfortunate. I mean, we're in serious economic headwind when it comes to the tariffs and the uncertainty, and really that's what tariffs cause. They cause uncertainty in business leaders and business owners to really pause and say, well, maybe I won't invest in that new piece of equipment, or maybe I won't invest in that expansion or hire some new staff. So that's what we're seeing is the uncertainty aspect of things. And, you know, that's why we launched the Lincoln Tariff Response Team. I know we have a representative of the Chamber of Commerce here this evening, so thank you for being here, Amelia. And really, we launched that Tariff Response Team to help really bridge the gap and learn what the businesses are experiencing. This really enforces, when I read that stat and say, you know, businesses are thinking of moving south, this really enforces one of the things that we do is business retention and expansion. That's a key tenet of economic development. And what that basically means is building the relationships with the businesses, trying to solve any issues and problems they have within our toolkit, and trying to encourage them to stay and grow and invest in their own businesses. As much as we'd love to attract the next big manufacturing facility or the next big winery or something along those lines, which we've had success on the agricultural side, we really need to focus on trying to retain our businesses, and that's what we're trying to do. So while I read that stat, I haven't heard of anything locally saying, hey, we're going to be going south of the border. If we do hear that, it's of concern, and we would address it as much as we can. But there's a huge macroeconomic situation that we're facing, and Niagara is not immune to what's happening globally. And because we are a border community, we are unfortunately, subject to some of the trade uncertainties that we're seeing south of the border.
I appreciate it. It's a tough question to answer, but it's an important one. And it's one thing to listen to everybody and hear the stories, but it's another thing, like, what are we doing as an ECDEV department to advocate or to push for some sort of certainty, however good or bad that may look? That I think that's what business owners are ultimately hoping from us. Third question. Thank you, and that'll be it for tonight, I think. So, as far as needs, future needs, looking forward, moving forward, like we all talk about, we need accommodations and this sort of thing. That's sure. But what else are you hearing? What else are you thinking that we need? What other needs do you see or sense within the community as far as ECDEV or tourism or that sort of thing?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. So a great question. I mean, really, I can break it down to what are the different sectors need. So you mentioned accommodations. That's one big thing that our tourism sector continues to clamor on. And one thing that we're working on, we're seeing the fruits of the labor, the new hotel that's going to be opening up at the end of October, the one in Jordan that should be breaking ground later this year. And so we're solving that. We're making headway on that. When it comes to other tourism aspects, we need more tourism amenities that aren't necessarily just wineries and craft beverage. We need new restaurants. We need new activities and destinations for people to experience. And we've had a lot of conversations on those, and we hope to make announcements in the near future in terms of some of our work on that. When it comes to industrial, the needs there are really trying to tap, and I mentioned toolkit earlier. The town of Lincoln as a municipality doesn't have the necessary toolkit that the province of Ontario, the federal government have when it comes to challenging or helping to solve some of the tariff-related issues that we're seeing south of the border. So from the industrial side, it's really making sure that our businesses are tapped into some of the programs the federal government and the provincial government may have. That's what we're hearing on that side in terms of needs. But on the commercial side, we need more commercial space. For the most part, we don't have very many vacant commercial spaces in our community. And so as we see development coming on board, our conversation, our asks are really how do we incorporate more commercial development in our community. The good thing is we have, in terms of the GO secondary plan and the land around the proposed GO station, we do see some conversations with the landowner there in terms of more commercial opportunities. And we're seeing some development happening on our transportation hubs or our main corridors here in our community. And I'm sure our planning department has a lot of good information on that. So when you say needs, those are sort of the needs as I break it down in terms of the different sectors.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions that I didn't prepare them for, and you answered them pretty good. Thank you.
Your dad would have asked harder questions, I think. Thank you so much to all three of you for joining us this evening and for sharing details of the report and answering our questions. There being no further questions, I do have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet that committee receive and file for information report EDC-07-26 regarding the 2025 Economic Development and Tourism Year in Review. I will now ask our Deputy Clerk to please open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed, and that carries.
Excellent. So as there are no further reports for the Planning and Economic Development Committee agenda, we will now transition to the General Business and Finance Committee agenda, which I will continue chairing. Number 8 on our agenda is the General Business and Finance Committee agenda. So we have no delegations, but we do have a report under 8.2. We will now consider item 8.2.1, water and wastewater rates prorated for bi-monthly billing, report FN-08-26. Are there any questions on this report from committee? All right. Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell that committee receive and file for information report FN-08-26 regarding water and wastewater rates prorated for bi-monthly billing. I will ask our Deputy Clerk to open that vote.
Thank you, Chair. The vote is now open. The vote is closed, and that carries.
All right, so number 9 is confidential items. We have no confidential items this evening. And number 10 is committee remarks. Do we have any remarks from committee? Councillor Miklick, I'm going to say, all right. So there being no further business, I call this meeting adjourned at 8:24 p.m. Thank you.